First of all, a major development in the killing of Charlie Kirk this morning. The FBI says it's got the shooter's rifle.
We're also learning more about how that shooter got away. Investigators say the person arrived on Utah Valley University's campus at around 11:52 a.m. local time, then escaped to a nearby neighborhood after the shooting. Here's details from the FBI special agent in charge of the Salt Lake City field office.
It is a high-powered bolt-action rifle. That rifle was recovered in a wooded area where the shooter had fled. The FBI laboratory will be analyzing this weapon. Investigators have also collected footwear impression, a palm print, and forearm imprints for analysis.
The FBI also released photos of a person of interest. Authorities think the person you see here is about college age. There's a reward of $100,000 for information leading to an arrest. And as that hunt for the shooter continues, more Americans are reckoning with the fact that political violence seems to have become a regular occurrence in this country.
Experts and polling find politically motivated attacks are on the rise, and divisions in America are as deep and as wide as ever. So let's continue this conversation on this disturbing trend with NewsNation political editor and the Hill Sunday anchor, Chris Stirewalt. Chris, thanks for joining us on this Friday morning. The acts of political violence in this country over the last few years are starting to kind of be like school shootings. There are so many of them that you just sort of forget that they've happened. What do you make of what we're seeing in this American moment?
Well, you know, an individual death is a tragedy, right? But large numbers of deaths become a statistic. So there are something like 40,000 Americans killed every year in traffic accidents. And we live with that, and we all get in our cars every day and go drive someplace. The problem of political violence is that it is an attack on the system itself, right? It seeks to. We just celebrated or commemorated the anniversary of the September 11th attacks. Terrorism, the point of terrorism is to obtain a political outcome. It is an individualized kind of war. And when you have political violence, what you are doing is trying to achieve an end, yes, but also to destroy the system itself. And I think you can't you can't spend too much time thinking about the ideologies of individual shooters because they are, of course, unwell. And when we look back through American history and we see the people who committed we live in a country that once upon a time, presidential and political assassinations, pretty common, relatively common, something that people experienced multiple times in their lifetimes, that a president would be killed, major political leaders would be killed or attempted to be killed. And we have to understand that the system that we have is a system that is designed to solve problems without violence. When people use violence to try to solve problems, it is not just an attack on the individuals involved, but on the system itself.
Chris, do you think that this wave of political violence we're living in now has something to do with the inability for the government to work together that's fostered or further fostered this division? That's really it's a horrid division.
Well, you must get up very early, because to be that smart at this hour of the day, you have been thinking obviously for a long time today, because yes, that is exactly part of the problem. When you have a system that can't answer, we'll just go there. When John Brown and his followers were killing people in Kansas back in the decade before the Civil War, they were murderers. John Brown was undertaking what he believed was a rational act. When the people attacked the Capitol, when the mob attacked the Capitol on January 6, 2021, they believed they were engaged in a rational act. And we look back with the benefit of history, and we come to new determinations about whether those acts were rational or irrational. But a system that cannot maintain the confidence of the people, right? A system that cannot provide redress of grievances for individuals and cannot seem to solve the pernicious problems about which there is a broad consensus in the country, that is a system that will itself come under attack. And again, I don't really care about the ideologies of individuals. I don't really care about what they believed. Unwell people, lunatics are lunatics, and I don't need to engage with them about it. I'm sitting here on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C., where not very far from where I'm sitting, I could quickly walk down to the location where what could have been the greatest president, might have been one of the greatest presidents of American history, James A. Garfield, was assassinated, trying to get on a train. Why was he assassinated? He was assassinated by a crazy person who believed that he deserved a job in Garfield's administration. But there was a problem in politics in those days, which was rampant corruption, and the spoils system had so distorted everything that here's a guy on the edge, on the periphery of that discussion, who is unwell and who gets shoved into the space because the system is crazy. And when the system goes crazy, then crazy people are going to find the expression of those things. So I hear a lot of, it's the left's fault, it's the right's fault, you did this, they did this. We did this because this is human nature, number one. And number two, if you're looking for someone to blame for the rising tide of political violence in the United States in the 21st century, blame Congress, right? If you want to pick one entity, one institution to put at the top of your list, we have a broken Congress that cannot legislate and only checks the power of the executive branch when it's held by the opposite party. They can't solve the big problems even when there is a consensus. The brokenness of Congress is one of the things that contributes to the broad sense among Americans that things just don't work anymore.
Chris, I want to play a soundbite from Nancy Mace, South Carolina Congresswoman. This is an exchange that she had with a reporter before we actually learned that Charlie Kirk had been killed.
If Democrats step up to the plate and take responsibility for what's happening in this country, the threats that are happening,
but Congresswoman,
and come together.
By that logic, do Republicans own the shooting of the two Democratic lawmakers in Minnesota?
Political.
Isn't this on both
sides? Are you
sides?
kidding me?
No, I'm asking.
We don't know what condition Charlie Kirk is in right now. Some raging leftist lunatic put a bullet through his neck, and you want to talk about Republicans right now? No.
Chris, when you talk about, or when you hear folks say we need to tone down the rhetoric, I would venture a guess that it doesn't help when lawmakers are speculating about the motive of the shooter before they even know exactly what it is. But also, are you buying the calls that we need to tone down the rhetoric are actually being heard by lawmakers? Because there is a certain level of power that comes with a social media following, and we know that anger is currency on social media.
Well, we need to own our part in this too, then, right? We in the traditional media, or whatever we are now, we need to own our part in this too. Nancy Mace didn't tweet that, right? She's running for governor in South Carolina. It's going to be a very awful. It's going to be a very awful primary. Many bad things will be said. South Carolina has a very awful politics, and this will be a particularly awful gubernatorial campaign. You can ask any veteran of South Carolina politics; it'll be rotten. And Nancy Mace saw an opportunity to get in on this story. And she went out and talked about it. And she didn't go talk in an empty field, right? She didn't go stand outside and start talking and there was no one there. She found people in our business. And when we talk about these stories, we have to remember that the incentive to push the most extreme points of view forward is the danger in a profit model that incentivize, and this is certainly true of social media platforms, but it's also true of traditional media platforms. The incentive to push extremes forward and hear the most extreme voices. If someone had come out of Congress, and I'm sure some people did, and seen reporters and they said, what do you think about this? And they said, on the weekday show of The Hill, Roger Marshall was on the day of the shooting. And Roger Marshall is as MAGA. He is a champion at the vanguard of the MAGA movement in the Senate. He is an unflinching, unsparing, absolutely devoted supporter and follower of Donald Trump. When he reacted to this, he said, I have to look inside, right? He didn't say those Democrats. He said, I have to look inside and think about what is it that I say and what do I do that I can do better so that we can have a system that functions better. And the Roger Marshall's comments, I am sure, did not get anything like the attention that Nancy Mace's comments did. So we should, before we accuse, we should clean up our side of the street first. So we should acknowledge that in traditional media, clicks are very attractive, and you're going to get more clicks for being rotten than you are for being decent.
We are out of time, but I will tell you, I agree in media complicity, by the way. But the other thing is, so it's kind of a yes or no answer. I hate to do this to you. Do you think we can come out of this while we're still alive?
Yeah, well, yes.
Good.
And I'll say yes because these cycles of history are usually about a generation long, and we've been in this one for a good long while now.
Well, thank you, and I'm happy you're going into the weekend, Chris.
Yes, exactly. We will
good.
see you on Sunday. Chris, thank you so much. That's Chris Stirewalt, NewsNation political editor. We do have some breaking news that just came out during that interview. According to President Trump, the suspect in the shooting of Charlie Kirk is in custody. The president speaking, saying somebody close to the suspect essentially turned him in with a high degree of certainty. And this coming directly from the president. I hope he's found guilty, I would imagine, and I hope he gets the death penalty. So that news just breaking on this Friday morning. The suspected shooter of Charlie Kirk now in police custody. Of course, we'll have much more coming up on this 8 a.m. hour about this breaking news.
Yeah.